I'm Jay Walker, and I don't have to talk to myself. Because joining us here this afternoon, now that we've heard from new football coach Billy Napier, we're going to hear the other side of this process as athletic director Dr. Bryan Maggard joins us now. I guess the first thing I got to say is congratulations. I mean, this is it was an interesting process over the last 2 weeks, but the process is complete. I think you got the guy that you wanted. I think that he's made a very good first impression, so congratulations on all of that.
Well, thank you very much. Yes, it's been a process, to say the least, but a very good one. And when you look back from then to now, it went very smoothly. Overall, it really did, and we absolutely got the guy we wanted. Make no mistake about that.
How different was this coaching search as opposed to softball? Because now you've had to hire two coaches of what, at this university, pretty high-level sports. Was the process any different this time around?
The actual process was not different, Jay. I mean, I really approached it in a similar fashion. Football's a bigger stage, right? And so, you're dealing with agents and representatives and dealing with, more notable people involved. So in this situation, probably more emphasis put on the confidentiality because, again...
Yeah, tell me about it.
Well, you just, you get in situations where, your candidates, it can't be known in most of those situations that they're interested because it could endanger their position at the current place. So.
Do you think being able to shut things down from an information standpoint and to go ahead and make it as confidential as possible, do you think that improved the candidate pool?
I think it's the norm. So to be honest with you, I mean,
really?
That's pretty normal and standard for such a search. So I don't know if it did or not. No, I don't think that had any impact. What improved the candidate pools we just talked about is where this program is today versus 7 years ago, bar none.
I hope I'm not talking out of school when I say this. You and I had a conversation when you hired Jerry Glasgow, and you said we talked for a while, but it was pretty obvious to me early in the conversation. Okay, I think how was it with Billy when you sat down face to face with him? How far into the conversation do you say, you know what? I think I might have found my guy.
Again, it did not take that long, and I, by no means am I saying I have a gift, for that feel. But, he came in and he was just, he was very, very genuine, very approachable, very comfortable, with himself. But you talk about an amount of focus that he had and his attention to detail, and as we talked more about plans and structure and things of that nature. I mean, the guy just had it all figured out. And it just told me he had a plan. He had a plan. And I'm not surprised given the pedigree that he has. And but it didn't take that long. But, Billy's just, again, he's very caring and very genuine. And you can, I'm learning more about the caring as I see him with his family and how he interacts with his wife and 3 young kids, and how I've watched from afar him dealing with our fan base already. And so it's just solidified everything that I thought to be true.
You said, and you covered it again today, but you said on the day that you said that you were going to be looking for a new football coach, you talked about all of the qualities that you were looking for in a coach. You got up today, you reiterated those qualities and gave examples as to why you felt that this was the man, that was the right man to lead this football program. But, I guess maybe it's because I'm older and I'm kind of old school in a way. What was it specifically about his academic plan that sold you?
Well, you could just the ultimate selling point is I could tell that he genuinely cares about his players as men and people first, and then as student athletes. And when I think, again, I'm just a firm believer, when you can find that trait and characteristic in somebody, everything else is going to take care of itself. Everything else will take care of itself. And that just goes back to the relationship aspect that I, heard about and learned about, him with players and even his coaching colleagues. And so, but his deal is that I think he comes from a family of educators. Mom and dad were both educators. I know his education was important to him, going to school at Furman, and so he's about making sure these young men don't just leave with a degree, but that they also leave educated. And there's a difference, right? There's a difference. He talked to me about engagement. I remember the engagement piece, making sure that while they're students at University of Louisiana, that they need to be engaged with that university experience. And so, he prioritizes getting involved in things outside of football, to make sure that you can become that well-rounded person.
Was this fun? Was it fun?
It really was exhausting, especially when you kind of, it's not ideal. You don't want to do back-to-back searches, right? and that's what this pretty much was. But circumstances were what they are, and you accepted it. But yes, at the end of the day, it was fun. I mean, it was. I will also tell you, it was humbling because of the amount of interest in this job. It just reinforced and reiterated what I really already knew about this place.
Nico told me that last week. He and I had a conversation, and or maybe it was 2 weeks ago. It was. It was 3 days into the process. And he said, Jay, you'd be amazed at the interest and the quality of candidates that we have for this job. And I thought about that for a minute, and I said, no, I probably wouldn't be. I don't think I'd be amazed because I think maybe I have a different view than a lot of people do about this program, what it's been, what it can be. So no, I don't think I would be surprised about that. But I would love for you to be able to tell me what you felt it was, because I have people ask me all the time, and I've heard it the last 3 times we were hiring a football coach, who's going to want this job? Mm-hmm. Well, I think the first time that somebody asked, I said there's only about 120 of these jobs available. Now it's up to about 130. And so obviously there are going to be people that are interested because it's a very closed fraternity. But the people that you spoke with, whether they were direct conversations through representatives or friends or whatever, what is it that you found out about how this program is perceived?
Well, I think first and foremost, I think they felt like this is a place where you can come in and have success quickly and be able to sustain it. There's a perception, I believe, that you can come here and win at a high level, and it's not a rebuild, but it's you can win quickly and you can sustain that. It's obviously known that the investment that's been made in our facilities. That's been very attractive. I got so many comments, from people who actually even hadn't necessarily been on campus, but through the website and things like that, they've seen these facilities and they're as top notch as they get. And then I think it's the more we would talk and have conversation, I think we revealed to them the genuine and true commitment that this administration, starting from the president's office, to the athletic director's chair. The commitment that we have to making sure that we grow this thing and build a championship program.
I saw Dr. Savoie before the press conference today. I congratulated him, and Joe has a tendency to kind of downplay his role in a lot of things, but I didn't let him do that. I said, Joe, we understand that the only thing you had to do here was say yes. Other than that, you didn't have to do much of anything. And he laughed. And, of course, we know that's not true, but it was maybe the most important thing because you came to him and you said, Dr. Savoie, we're going to hire a new football coach. This is how much more it's going to cost you. We're going to hire a bunch of assistant coaches. This is how much more it's going to cost you. And then we have this vision, and this is how much more it's going to cost you. None of that happens if he doesn't say yes. How are you able to get him to say yes?
Well, you're exactly right. Right, he is the ultimate decision maker in this situation, and I will be the first to tell you that I'm a firm believer that any athletics director is only as good as his or her president. I really believe that, and the guy we have running this university is as good as they get, and I pray that he sticks around for quite some time. I really do. But it wasn't hard to get him to say yes, because going back to my hiring, Jay, there was a commitment made by this university to move this athletics program forward, and I think he and others involved, in the decision-making processes, they're hanging on to that, and they're staying committed to that. And so, for me, my big thing when I take a question to my boss is I always want to make sure I explain the why behind the what, right? Explain the why behind the what, and when I do that, and I did that in this situation, he absolutely understood. But again, this wasn't a revelation to him. He's fully committed to in a responsible way, make sure we're providing the resources we need to grow this athletics program.
Okay, give me a why along with the what. Mm-hmm. What made you get to the assistants pool, that the figure that you've come up with, which now puts you in the top 5 of all G5 schools? Why was that figure so important?
Well, for me, we need to do everything we can to create UL as a destination place for our coaches, particularly our football coach. And although right now I would tell you, our head coach salary, we need to improve on that. I understand that, but from a position coach salary pool, I just felt like making a jump, from where we were to this, not only will help Coach Napier surround himself with great coaches, but it makes a statement and takes another step forward toward making this a destination position. The success will come here. There's no doubt in my mind. We have beautiful facilities. From a coaching standpoint, you're in a recruiting hotbed. Those intangibles are there, but it's also about compensation. It's a very competitive market out there, and if we want this to be a destination job, then we need to make sure that we make strides to compensate accordingly.
Was that figure surprising to Dr. Savoie when you sat down with him?
I don't think so.
No.
Not really. Again, we're just talking about your key hires for any head coach are going to be his coordinators, and when you look at the market out there, you've got to make sure that you're positioning yourself to not only be able to compensate those two positions, at a very, very competitive rate, but you can't let that absorb your entire pool or most of your pool, and then not compensate the other 8 assistants. And so, just through some good conversation and realizing, that assistant coach group will be very, very important, to surround Billy with.
When the coaching search first began, somebody called the radio show and asked about, what do you think they're going to do? They're going to hire an offensive guy. They're going to hire a defensive guy. They're going to, and I said, I learned something in your comments to the media on the day that you announced you would be looking for a new football coach. And I listened to what you said. I listened to the order in which you said it. My response was, I hear Dr. Maggard, and then I go ahead and I also kind of marry that to times where I've had to make hires. The first thing he's going to do is hire a person. Second thing he's going to do is hire a football coach. Was I right?
You're right on, spot on. And that'll be an approach I'll always take. I think it's, in today's day and age of college athletics, it's so important to hire, a person with integrity, good character, strong moral values, and the coaching piece will come with that, right? You're not just going to go hire a good person with no experience, obviously, and those people are definitely out there. There's a lot of them out there, but that's always going to be a focus of mine, is making sure we get that strong person first.
Before we go to the break, you said on that Sunday that you weren't an X's and O's guy. Did you talk any X's and O's at all with the candidates that you spoke to?
I did. I was interested in just, kind of what style of offense or style of defense, they might incorporate in, Billy. When he started getting technical, I had to have him put the brakes on because he started speaking a language I didn't understand, but he could do that, you could tell. And, but no, he was great because that's what I like. One thing I noticed about Billy is, you can tell he's a teacher. He's really a teacher because he could break things down, for a person who maybe doesn't understand the subject matter, as well as he does. And so he could simplify it, and he does a real good job of making you feel like, oh, yeah, I understand that. And I'm just sitting there thinking to myself, well, if he's doing this with me, when he does that with his players, just think how successful they're going to be.
Dr. Bryan Maggard, Raging Cajun Athletic Director, our guest this afternoon on the Sports Gap. More about this coaching search, but also a little bit more as we continue to evolve as an athletic program. What's next on the agenda for Raging Cajun Athletics? We'll talk with Dr. Maggard about all of that as the Sports Gap continues on ESPN 1420, ESPN1420.com, and the ESPN 1420 app.